Attaching sleeves is one of the hardest things to learn in sewing, but I've got a few tips to help. Hi everyone, Wes from Carl Wesley Sewing Patterns here, and in this video I'm going to show a fast, effective, and easy to learn method for inserting sleeves. As a beginner, you'd probably assume that sleeves always get attached in the round, but actually the opposite is true. Most of the time, you are able to insert the sleeve flat before you sew up the side seams. Let me show you what I'm talking about on the t-shirt I'm working on. This is my partially assembled t-shirt that I started. You can see that the neckband and the shoulder seams are already completed. Over here is the front of the shirt, and this is the back. You'll see that the side seams are still left open. So actually the side seams and the underarm seam are going to be one of the last things that you sew. And the way you have this laid out, you can kind of see how the sleeve will get inserted into the armhole on both sides here. Let's take a little bit closer look at the armhole and the sleeve cap. So when you're going to insert a sleeve, there are normally 5 main points that you need to pay attention to that you will match when you're sewing this together. And I have pin marked some of these to make them easier to see on camera. So the first part is going to be this point right here to this point right here on the sleeve. The second point is going to be the first notch. This is a single notch. You can see right here on the sleeve there's a single notch where that will match. The single notch usually indicates the front of the garment. The third point that you will match is the shoulder seam to the notch on the top of the sleeve, which is right here. The fourth point you will match is the second notch. This one is a double notch, and that is somewhere toward the back, right here. The double notch normally indicates the back of the garment. And then the fifth point is this point to this point here, which is the underarm. So you can kind of see how that's going to fit into here. And I recommend, at a minimum, using your sewing clips to match those 5 points. Now let's take a look at what this looks like to clip this sleeve into the armhole before we go to the sewing machine. You will notice that I am not doing any other kind of prep work like basting or any other complicated things you might see in sewing instructions. And that's because I don't think you really need to do it with this method. So let's take a look and see how I clip this into the armhole. We match the first point. Then we're going to walk this sleeve cap around to match the armhole and match the remaining points. This is the second one here. Let's walk this around some more. And this notch will match the shoulder seam at the top here. Walk the sleeve cap around some more. And this is going to move over here. That's okay. Just let it do its thing. And now we need to find the fourth point over here. And finally, let's match these endpoints right here with a clip. So those are the 5 points that I like to match before I go sew. You can certainly match more if you would like, but this is probably sufficient. So let's go to the serger and take a look how I sew this in. So a quick word here, I'm doing this on the serger, but I will say this method works the same if you're doing it on a standard sewing machine as well. And also another note is that this method does work fine on woven garments, just as well as it does knit garments. But I will say that I do think that inserting sleeves on knits is easier because the little bit of stretch gives you some wiggle room so you don't have to be quite as precise. So that being said, let's talk about how this is done. It's important to understand how your sewing machine works and understand how your pattern is designed. The feed dogs on your sewing machine are going to go like this as you're running the fabric through it. That inadvertently has a way of gathering the fabric slightly as you're sewing. But we can use that to our advantage because normally sewing patterns are designed so that the sleeve cap is actually slightly longer than the armhole. And the reason for that is so that there's some ease and so that the sleeve will roll over the shoulder more easily. So taking both of those things in mind, we want to insert this sleeve with the sleeve cap, with the actual sleeve facing the feed dogs, and the rest of the shirt is on the top. And how we want to set this up is we want to put one hand underneath the top layer here. And that's going to be the hand that is controlling our sleeve. And then the hand on the top is going to be controlling the armhole. Actually, we need to get this started and then we can set that up. And it's a good idea to try and keep all the weight of the fabric up on your table so it's not stretching as you stitch. Okay, first point right here. My left hand is on the sleeve. My right hand is on the top working the armhole. So what makes sleeves so hard, inserting sleeves, is that you're trying to match two different curves. So you really got to take your time here and really think about what you're doing. As I'm stitching, I am going to pull in the sleeve cap with my left hand to match the edge of the armhole. And really, the layer that's on top is the one that we want to keep kind of stable. I recommend if you're trying this for the first time, don't go and do it on the serger because you run the risk of cutting some of your fabric off. I'm pretty confident in this method, so I go straight to the serger. But if you're new, maybe go stitch it on your regular sewing machine first to see what it looks like. Okay, we've got that stitched in. That wasn't too bad. Now let's turn this to the outside and take a look to see what this looks like. And you will know immediately if you did anything wrong because you will have puckers in your sleeve or something weird. And this actually looks pretty good. Now let's take a look at this from a slightly different angle so you can get a different viewpoint of how I'm positioning my hands. So remember, sleeve toward the feed dogs, armhole on top. Let's get this started and then we can get our hands positioned. Left hand is under the top layer on top of the sleeve. Right hand is on top, steering the armhole. A lot of sewing instructions, they generally tell you to put 2 lines of basting stitches in your sleeve cap to gather it up slightly before you insert it in your armhole. And you know what? I just don't have time for all that drama. I just want to go to the sewing machine and sew it in. So that is why I like learning how to do this method. It just speeds things up a ton. Now, since I'm sewing a knit shirt here, the feed dog action really isn't as important because you can use the stretch a little bit to get things to match up. But if this was a woven shirt, there would definitely be more ease in the sleeve cap. So you would need those feed dogs to work in that extra length to make it match your armhole. So I sewed these both in on the first try, and I went right to the machine, no basting or any funny extra steps. So now we can sew the side seams and finish up this shirt. This is what the finished shirt looks like. The sleeves look great, and there were no basting or extra steps to do it. As a recap, insert the sleeves before you close the side seams, place the sleeve cap toward the feed dogs, and draw in the sleeve cap to match the armhole as you stitch. With a little practice, you'll have sleeves mastered in no time. If you like this video, I hope you'll like, subscribe, and share. And don't forget to shop my favorite sewing supplies with my Amazon links below. It helps support my channel at no extra cost to you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Happy sewing!